Okay, so good afternoon. I'm hopping on here with a quick word because I was still doing my studying, and God was speaking to me about the women today. Like the women, like a lot of the sins that women are committing today. And it's been going on. This is part of the generational curses that you guys are learning and knowing about. The sins of adultery, like you cheating on your husband, your spouse. He was showing me that when you cheat on your husband, that spirit, that generational curse, that curse gets passed down to your children. So it's funny because I got two confirmations about this before I even read this today. One was me having a conversation with a family member that had, committed this same sin. And I was telling them, like, the reason why their child is doing it is because they saw them do it, which made it okay to them in their mind. And I'm like, don't ever think that because you're grown and your child is grown that they still don't learn from you. The second thing was I got on Instagram this morning and was scrolling, and I saw a friend of mine. He posted about women making up excuses of why they did what they did because the man did it first. And he was speaking in reference to your character, you know what I'm saying? Like, women shouldn't do it, but I'll touch on that deeper in another post. But basically, God was just talking to me through that post because it really registered with my spirit. But when you're out here committing adultery and you're sinning against your spouse, that sin gets passed down to your children. A lot of sins do, and I think that's why we call them curses, because you be trying to figure out, like, why is it not getting taken up off of you. So a lot of the generational curses we do, you got to look at the things you do when you sin. It comes from a lineage of our family members doing it, but it was taught from the very first person in our family, which was Eve, because she was the one that sinned. Oh, that just came to me. Eve was the one who sinned and convinced Adam to sin. So she bit the fruit and then took it to him and was like, oh, and I just heard this yesterday. That's so crazy. I just heard it yesterday on the sermon. But she took the fruit to Adam and was like, oh yeah, take it, whatever, like that. And then Adam suffered the punishment worse, and I feel like, I can go deep on this because I thought about this so many times, but Adam was supposed to protect Eve so that she couldn't even be deceived. You know what I'm saying? So in that reference, God is speaking to me. The man is supposed to take care of the household so that a woman won't even feel the need to step out of the household. And then when she step out of the household, because the man is not doing what he's supposed to do, the children are going to feel it, and it's going to make them feel a way, and they're going to start to live in sin. I just had a whole revelation. Oh my God. Listen, read Numbers 5, okay? And read what God spoke to Moses. And he said that if you confess your sin to the person who you sinned against, and the person that you sin with, it's really with the person you sinned against. If you confess your sin to that person, so in layman's terms, if you sinned against a woman and you slept with her husband, if you confess the sin, you ask God for forgiveness, he will restore that person. And I can't remember the word. It said recompose or whatever. It's like make amends with that person. So God is going to make amends. You're going to make amends with that person for sinning against them with their husband. And God is going to make amends if you, it says something about our descendants. Like if you cheated with somebody's husband and the sin get passed down to your child, God will make amends. You're making amends with your child. And you're making amends with the person you sinned against. And if you don't have a child, you don't have any children, God is going to just make amends with you and him, like with you and the father. So the amends will be made between you and him, and then the person who you sinned against and the father. So God is going to be in it and have his hand on it anyway. But this explains a lot of generational curses. This explains a lot of pain and suffering that a lot of us are feeling, because you feel conflicted about the things that you do in the world, but this is a generational curse and it needs to be broken today. So you need to confess your sins to the person that you sinned against. And it's not even just about being about adultery. This goes farther deeper into it, but God is speaking about adultery right now, because it's a lot of women out here doing that, and they're breaking up these households. But also the man is the reason, because but a lot of women, I think God is not saying nothing about the men, because a lot of women, y'all are single. It's a lot of single mothers out here, and y'all doing the unthinkable in front of your children, and you think your kids don't see and don't hear and don't know what's going on, and they see and know everything. They see and know everything. So when they grow up, they gonna start to follow in your footsteps. But it's a lot of single mothers out here, so I think that's why he didn't say anything to me about the men. But also, when it took me to the Adam and Eve in Genesis, that speaks to the spouses, because there's a lot of married couples out here, you know, they swinging, but they behind doors swinging, like they not doing it and committing to, you know, doing it together. They doing it being sneaky and cheating on each other. There's a lot of spouses out here doing that. And God is saying, like, the man in the house is not doing what he's supposed to do. And if woman is feeling broken and she's going out looking for another spouse, and the reason why she's choosing another spouse that's already married is because it's easier that way. These men, if she was to cheat with somebody single, it could become a problem. If she cheats with somebody that's married already, I heard somebody tell me this the other day too, but it's the same thing that God is speaking to me, but it's easier to cheat with a spouse. So that feelings won't be, you know, you only could go so far if somebody else is already married. So that's what I have to say today. I encourage you to read Numbers 5. I read Numbers 5:1, and I can't remember where I stopped at. I think 11. But just read Numbers 5. Just read the whole thing, and you're going to get that revelation, I'm sure. Because God was just speaking to me this morning. I'm like, I didn't know what he was talking about. But now I do, because it's a situation within my family, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I was just speaking to a family member about that. So then he gave me the post from my friend. So I just encourage you to read Numbers 5, and y'all have a blessed day.